Hi guys, my name is Max. I am the instructor from Road Pro CDL training. In this video we're gonna do the engine compartment, the pre-trip inspection, and one of the compartments we called engine. We're gonna start checking our clearance light. Our clearance lights are secured, they're no broken, crack or damaged, and they're proper amber color. We're gonna check our headlights. Make sure they're secured, they're clean, they're no crack or damaged. And I check my high beams and low beams over here, my turn signals, and my flashers. I'm gonna check under my truck, make sure we don't have any leaks or puddles like oil or coolant. And make sure that your truck is leveled, is not leaning on any side. After that, you're gonna open the hood and you're gonna start checking your passenger side. On the passenger side, first of all, I'm gonna check all my hoses. All the hoses are properly mounted and secured with the clamps on both ends. I don't see any abrasions, cuts, leaks, or damages. I have to check my coolant level. Has to be a safe, proper level between minimum and maximum. My cap are secured. I don't see any leaks under. After the coolant, we're gonna check alternator. The alternator is properly mounted and secured to the engine. No crack, broken, or damaged. My alternator belt driven. My electrical wire are secured. Is no exposed, no frayed, no cuts or damages. All bolts and nuts are tight. I will check my water pump. It's properly mounted and secured to the engine. No crack, broken or damaged, and no coolant leak. My water pump working with the same belt as alternator. I'm gonna check my belt and make sure is no ripped, cuts, broken, damaged, or abrasions, and is not worn. And if I gonna pull or push by hand, it should play no more than 3/4 of an inch. The last one on the passenger side, I checked, make sure that I don't have any leaks under my truck. You finish your passenger side, you're gonna move on your driver side. On the driver side, we're gonna start checking our hoses, all the hoses. They're properly mounted and secured with the clamps on both ends and then have no abrasions, cuts, bulges, or leaks. I check my oil level on the dipstick. I have to pull it out, clean it, put it back, take it out again, and I check the level. The level has to be between minimum and maximum. After oil, we're gonna check power steering fluid. I can see the power steering fluid levels between minimum and maximum. The power steering reservoir are secured. I don't see any leaks. All caps are tight and secured. I'm gonna check my air compressor. That's the compressor builds the air. Is securely mounted, no crack, broken or damaged, no air leaks. It's properly working and it's gear driven. Under the compressor, we cannot see it, but it's there. Steering pump. It's properly mounted and secured, no crack, broken, damage or leaks, and it's properly working, gear driven. After that, we're going to the steering system and we start checking steering column. The steering column are securely mounted with the universal joints on both ends. Check my U-joints. They're securely mounted with the bolts and nuts. I don't see any debris inside. They're no crack or damaged. They're tight and greased. In my steering column, no bent, broken, cracked, or loose. Now I'm gonna check my gearbox. The gearbox are properly mounted and secured to the frame. All nuts are tight, none of them are missing, is no crack or leaks. And the steering box hose are securely mounted with the clamps on both ends. I don't see any bulges, cuts, abrasions or leaks. We finished with the engine and we're gonna move to this axle. Axle, we have three systems. All three axles has three systems. The first system is suspension, then brake system, and then tire system. Always go from in, out. We start checking suspension system. We're gonna check the spring leaves mounts, or we call them brackets, the front and back. They're properly mounted and secured to the frame. All bolts and nuts are tight. They're no crack or damaged. Inside we have bushings. There are no cuts, no cracked, and not worn. Next one, we're gonna check spring leaves. They're properly mounted and secured to the brackets on both ends. All bolts and nuts are tight. The spring leaves, no bent, no cracked, no missing leaves, and they're no shifted. Next part, we're gonna check U-bolts. We have two U-bolts. They're properly mounted and secured to the axle. No missing nuts under. They're tight. The U-bolts are no crack, no bent, no loose. The last one, on the suspension, we're gonna check shock absorber. It's secured on the both ends. Is no bent, cracked, damaged, or oil leaking. And is secured with the bolts and nuts. I'm gonna check 5 steering arms or linkages. You can give us by name, or you just simply say I check 5 arms and you have to show to me where is it. We're gonna check pitman arm, drag link, tie rod, upper and lower control arms. They're all present, they're properly mounted and secured on both ends with the bolts and nuts. They're no bent, crack or damaged. Checking my castle nuts, and the cotter pins are present, they're tight and secured. And the sockets over here, not worn. We're gonna check the brake system, and we always start checking brake hoses. The brake hoses are properly mounted with the fittings on both ends. They have no cuts, no abrasions, no bulges, and no air leaking. Next one, we're gonna check brake chamber. It's securely mounted with the C-clamp. All nuts are tight. The brake chamber has no dents, no crack, no air leak. After that, we're gonna check push rod and slack adjuster. The push rod are straight, no bent, cracked, broken or damaged. Slack adjuster greased and no leaks. No missing any pins. And my push rod plays no more than 1 inch. I have to release my parking brakes inside the truck. And if I pull by hand, like I said, should be playing no more than 1 inch. The last 2 parts on the brake system, we're gonna check brake drums and brake shoes. We have cover over here. We don't really see them, but the drums and shoes are secured. No missing bolts and nuts. No crack, broken or damaged. Drums has no holes. And drums and shoes are not worn. They're not dangerously thin and they're dry. So I don't see any oil or grease on it. Now we move outside and we're gonna check our tire system. Tires, we start checking tire walls from both sides. There has no cuts, no bulges. They're properly seated on the rim and no air leaking. They're evenly worn, and the depth tread has to be more than 40 seconds of an inch. The depth tread, no less than 430 seconds. I'm gonna check my rims. The rims are secured, is no bent, no cracked, and no illegal weldings. I will check in my lug nuts. They're all present, they're secured. I don't see any cracks, none of them are missing, and I don't see any shiny metals or rust trails. Indicates that the lug nuts are loose. I'm gonna check my hub seal is securely mounted with the bolts and nuts, no crack, broken, damaged, and no leak oil. I can open the cap over here and I can check the level. It has to be safe level. The last one, I'm gonna check the valve stem. The valve stem are secured, no bent, no crack, no missing cap. And if I'm gonna take my tire pressure gauge, I can check my tire pressure with the gauge. It has to be no less than 100 psi. So that was the engine compartment.